So, how racism hurts white people, part 3. So, I've already gone over how racism hurts white people because of the feelings of fear, the idea, at the very least, of it being a distraction that doesn't have any fear. It's something that, you're trying to multitask, think about racism and accomplish your goals at the same time, whether they're temporary goals or long-term goals. Mentioned about the fact that it is illogical and it probably encourages other illogical type thinking. I've also talked about the fact that it's expensive. Jails, judges, prosecutors, lawyers, all these things cost money, and minorities are not the ones paying for it because they don't have anything. Comparatively, of course. There are lots of minorities with lots of money, like Oprah and maybe Beyonce and stuff like that. So now for a couple more reasons why racism hurts white people. One of the ways that racism potentially hurts white people is because you can't keep that kind of thing, strictly speaking, directed just at minorities and black people. There's this movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger is in where basically the bad guy gets his mind and memories are transferred into a new body, but his old body is there and he's dying. So he is there dying, but the clone has his memories and his attitude, and it's a half-formed clone, but it's good enough. And the clone doesn't have any sympathy for him. The clone is like, just hurry up and die already. And I'm not sure, but maybe the clone just kills him, shoots him in the head. And the idea is that you can't compartmentalize how you treat other people, even when that other person is you. People, if somebody is, let's say, a very driven person, they want to drive other people. And if somebody is, mean to people, let's say minorities or the sexist, it's hard to imagine that they're really going to be kind to you. Now, I think the best example of this is, for example, the white people who went to help black people in the South get registered and vote and so on. They ended up meeting the same fate as the black people. They got beat up. Some of them got murdered by the KKK. People didn't really draw the line to say, no, this is a white person. We're not going to do these things to them. No, they were N-word lovers, and it was very easy for the Klansmen to do the same thing to them. And we can see when, successive waves of people came from Europe, they encountered initially even worse discrimination, perhaps, than black people. Of course, in the end, I guess they were assimilated, but at the end of the day, I think it's said that you can judge a society by how it treats its worst people, because anybody could potentially end up in that position of being the worst. If you get used to treating people badly, whoever they are, it's very easy to treat other people like that. If you get used to killing small animals, then one day you graduate to people, or maybe larger animals and then to people. But it happens. So it's probably a good idea to get rid of racism from a white person's perspective, because there are probably a lot of ways, aside from those people who got killed from the Klan, those are explicit ways, that white people suffer from racism themselves. The effects of it, the hate and distrust and paranoia and whatever else. I remember I was looking with my sister at a guy on a balcony, and just because of the way that the sun was shining on his body, we had no idea whether the guy was black or white. And then, when he stood up, then wow, we could see clearly. But imagine if you think somebody's an intruder and, if they're black, you'd shoot them, and if they're white, they wouldn't. It could be possible that you might end up in that same situation where you think the person is black and they get shot, and then you realize, no, they're actually white. They couldn't see them that well from the distance or whatever. So there's that. The next way that racism hurts white people is that it can tend to breed mediocrity. And, the first example I can give for that is Vanilla Ice, for example. Here you are, a white person, and you've gotten into rap music, and you don't really have to be too good for other white people to think of you as, hey, there's a guy doing that thing that we shouldn't like because black people do it, but he's the only one, and here it is. Let's shower all this attention on him just because he's white, even though he's less than mediocre. And I remember that somebody was talking to, I think, was Ray Charles, and they were saying, do you think that Elvis is one of these, a really talented person? And Ray Charles was like, no, I know a lot more talented people than him, but they happen to be black. He just happens to have sung a lot of songs previously recorded by black people, and he's the only white person doing it. So people have gotten really excited about it. And yay. Or for example, I think he was saying that there was another black entertainer that was getting a lot of attention from women, and it was proven to be a problem for him. But for Elvis, of course, that wasn't going to be a problem. White woman, of course. And we could just look at what's going on with Trump. Obama had to be one of the most educated black people around. But the very next president that came on the scene is a guy who we're finding out wasn't even a very good businessman. If the New York Times is to be believed, one, most of his money he got from his father by cheating the tax authorities. Two, he wasn't even really able to hold on to that money, having, going bankrupt personally at least once. And they say if not for The Apprentice, he probably would have been losing a lot of money. And right now they're saying that he has a whole bunch of personal loans coming up and not pretty much a billionaire. Just in many ways, if you believe the New York Times and other publications, just a liar who may have even gotten somebody to sit his SATs for him. Whereas you have the first, what was Obama? I think it was the first black president of the Student Law Association is it Yale? And he's a lawyer. And Trump is somebody who potentially got somebody to take his SATs for him, didn't do particularly well, doesn't want to release his transcripts or anything like that. So I don't think, and if you just look at it, for example, if you have tariffs are supposed to protect your industries, right? That is not going to make your industry strong. That's going to basically protect them, hopefully, until they reach a point where you don't need the tariffs anymore. But usually that's not really how it works. If you have a country that its industries are able to grow strong without the tariffs, that company or industry could usually profitably take on other industries, other groups in other countries with no problem and make the country proud. But by having a certain segment of the population that isn't even able to compete, that doesn't help white people to become exemplary. it just reduces the competition by however much those minorities represent in the population. And as a matter of fact, that kind of pressure creates people like Barack Obama, like Nelson Mandela, like Martin Luther King Jr. It pushes the black people who do get through, and even if they end up dead, it makes them Michael Jordans and Michael Jacksons and Muhammad Ali's. That doesn't help white people. To me, it seems to hurt them by encouraging mediocrity. And when minorities do see a path to success, whether it is in terms of performing like Michael Jackson, or in a specific sport like the NBA or the NFL, or they have their own art form like R&B music or rock music previously, or rap music, what actually ends up happening is the minorities may end up just taking over that particular industry, like the NBA or the NFL or baseball, sports in general, or, boxing, for example. And aside from mediocrity, that can leave white people feeling wanting, as if, no, I can't be an NBA player because I have to be black to be an NBA player. And even though I'm good, I'm not good enough because black people are miles ahead of me. Or in the NFL, or in any field that black people end up, or minorities end up just taking over, because this is a particular path to wealth. And everybody's just going to pile on and try their best to succeed in this particular venue. So I have a couple more points about how racism probably hurts white people, and I guess I'll get to them.